The military and gendarmerie officers evaluate the security situation in Libya, Lemdian and Kmer divisions of the southwest region as part of a mission to secure these administrative areas. The Japoma Stadium plays host to its pioneer football friendly between the intermediate Lions of Cameroon and UMS of Loom, with the encounter ending on a 0-0 tie. And those are top stories. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the news. I'm Gladys Tata.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Welcome back. The National Statistics Institute of Cameroon has a new head office building. The ultramodern structure, worth 12 billion CFA francs, has been inaugurated today by the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute, personal representative of the head of state, to the event. The building, located at the administrative quarters of Yaoundé, is expected to contribute in the production of quality statistics to help in drawing up public policy in Cameroon. Star Building correspondent Christian Atam reports.
A simple, colorful ceremony to mark the inauguration of a beautiful modern building. The city mayor, Claude Messia Tangana, has saluted the structure as another beautiful landmark which will brighten the city's landscape. The Director General of the National Statistics Institute, Joseph Tedu, for his part, presented the 10 floors of the structure with the office spaces, meeting points, and environment-friendly facilities. Prime Minister Joseph John Gute, personal representative of the head of state, said the building is a continuation of President Paul Biya's resolve to improve public infrastructures in Cameroon. He said it is a direct result of the president's 2011 promise to engage in the massive construction of public infrastructures. Joseph John Gute said it is the same policy which has led to the construction of giant projects in the domains of energy, health, roads, and sports. The Prime Minister has expressed satisfaction with the 3 Cameroonian enterprises which constructed the building within a period of 4 years. The new head office of the National Institute of Statistics is part of the development plan of the Yaoundé Municipal Lake area. The Prime Minister says the structure should be a wake-up call for the development of the lake and its surroundings to be given a greater momentum.
After the inauguration of the new head office of the National Institute of Statistics, Prime Minister Joseph John Gute, personal representative of the head of state, said the building is the latest of a series of new infrastructures initiated by President Paul Biya to give Cameroon befitting public edifices. Here's the Prime Minister speaking after today's inauguration.
In 2011, as you can remember, the head of state made mention of the fact that Cameroon would be transformed into a huge building site, and this is once more proof of what he said. Recently we've had the opportunity to inaugurate a number of buildings and shopping malls and infrastructure, roads and the like, and it's one more important and beautiful edifice that comes to beautify this lake area of Yaoundé.
The new building that will henceforth house the headquarters of the National Institute of Statistics, inaugurated today by Prime Minister, is described as an edifice of modernity and dynamism ready to spur the staff to great output. Let's discover the architecture and space of the building in this presentation by Prince Will Mokwele Aduma.
Beauty in statistics. You see it, you know it. An edifice of glass that walls up 7 floors is the new headquarters of the National Institute of Statistics. Hence arranged on 2 basements, spreading 3,980 square meters. This architectural design incarnates a degree of modernity needed to redynamize collection and publication of quality statistics. Data needed for tailoring public policy, especially with the coming of decentralized collectivities where statistics are key in matching needs to corresponding demography. It's inaugural by Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph John Gute, assisted by the Director General Joseph Tedu, unveils 155 offices with 2 conference halls. A capacity of 1,200 persons who stay here enjoy security, medical care, body fitness and restaurant facility. A parking lot of 40 and then access ways. Take the lift and here you are, the top floor of the 6-year-old endeavor, costed at 12 billion CFA francs, borne entirely by the state.
And on to other news, from entertainment shows cancelled to leisure sites closed, the coronavirus hit the 2020 culture scene, bringing almost all related activities to a standstill. The death of renowned Cameroonian saxophonist Manu Dibango added to the grief. There were, however, some happy notes, amongst which Ate Francis becoming Sonacam's new board chair and Jali Amal grabbing 2 prestigious prizes for her work. Emmanuela Vemio revisits the major highlights of Cameroon's 2020 cultural agenda.
The coronavirus pandemic made its way into Cameroon in March like a thief in the night, snatching the joy of artists. Not only did it quiet the noise from concerts and musical showdowns, it took away a musical legend, an icon, Manu Dibango, into the land of no return. This dark cloud then hovered over the cultural world for months, reducing the lives of the men and women of culture to a mere survival. Months passed. Hope is rekindled with the brilliant performance of the Cameroonian writer Jali Amal. She is winner of le Prix Goncourt de Lycéen and le Choix Goncourt de Lauréat, 2 prestigious awards for her book Les Impatientes. For this, Cameroon is proud. First Lady Chantal Biya receives the gender activist in audience to salute her achievements. The Minister of Arts and Culture, Bidung Kwad, extends the state's congratulations to her as more doors open for the writer. Then Cameroon Musical Arts Corporation, Sonacam, then came on the spotlight with a highly contested elective General Assembly. Ate Francis is voted board chair of the corporation, together with 4 other presidents of committees to head the corporation. A new page then opens in the corporation that has a long-standing history of problems linked to the collection and distribution of authors' rights. The new team are aware of what needs to be done.
I will never be happy until I push poverty out of the milieu.
The Econ Noir Film Festival 2020 then came to close up the cultural year.
The education sector was equally affected in the year 2020 by the coronavirus epidemic as countries debated on how to resume classroom lessons after several months of lockdown to avoid the spread of the virus. Cameroon was one of the few to develop a response strategy that guaranteed the continuation of the learning process. In our retrospect on the education sector, Cynthia Saptala goes through those actions undertaken by government as solutions to the challenges caused by the pandemic. Her report.
The 2019-2020 school year faced one of the most important challenges in history, that of the pandemic. As immediate response, on March 17, 2020, government ordered the suspension of schools, universities, as well as any other face-to-face academic activities as part of measures to stop the spread of the virus in the territory. In its place, e-learning or distant learning was encouraged, with the Ministries of Basic and Secondary Education collaborating with the national broadcaster for audio and televised lessons for examination classes.
Furthermore, the Ministry of Secondary Education ensured the creation of a center for distant learning. Students anywhere could log on to decide to have lessons.
Following these efforts, national examinations proceeded July 20th to August, following strict respect of COVID-19 measures. With regards to the 2020-2021 academic year, government adopted additional measures to guarantee the safety of children in schools, some which included 50 students per class and the adoption of the shift system for public schools.
The government took its responsibility to ensure that its citizens are educated, and these are measures that have been put in place to ensure that this is done.
With education being at the heart of government strategy for responding to the COVID-19 pandemic, the focus was to provide solutions around educational challenges so as to maintain the intellectual growth of its youth.
The world had followed the coronavirus outbreak in China and the rapidly unfolding epidemic in Italy and other parts of Europe, with many believing that it will be devastating to many countries in sub-Saharan Africa. Cameroon, the story was different in Cameroon, as the government's response strategy significantly helped in stemming the spread, contrary to the views of some observers. Constantine Bomb now takes a look at some measures that greatly contributed in limiting the spread of the virus.
The first cases were detected at the Yaoundé-Simalend airport. Additional cases were also recorded in Douala. Government immediately took measures. Cameroon's land, air and sea borders were closed. The measures included the closing of schools, educational or training institutions, banning gatherings of all kinds, imposing the use of face masks on public places, and a partial lockdown where bars, restaurants and entertainment spots shut their doors at 6 p.m., as well as calling on the public to strictly observe hygiene measures recommended by WHO. The Ministry of Public Health was responding through active surveillance, screening at ports of entry, laboratory testing and care management at designated isolated treatment centers. There are government facilities in all 10 regions that provide testing at no charge, with results provided within 24 to 48 hours. Archbishop Samuel Klede announced on 19 April 2020 that he had found a cure. He had cured about 1,500 patients who came searching for the remedy. Many other Tradi practitioners have come up with their own remedies. Cameroon has confirmed some 26,277 COVID-19 cases, with about 446 deaths. 24,892 persons have recovered. Cameroon of recent received recognition for its management of COVID-19 pandemic. Credit goes to the proactive leadership demonstrated from the very beginning by the head of state, Paul Biya.
The first confirmed case of COVID-19 in Cameroon was registered on March 6, 2020. Since then, government has mobilized logistical, human and financial resources to contain the spread of the virus and protect the population from mass contamination. Here with me in the studio is Joyce Kimbiforaju. Hello, Joyce.
Hi, Gladys.
And welcome.
Yes, you're welcome.
And 9 months after Joyce, COVID-19 is still a threat in Cameroon?
It is, and even worse, because 9 months before, as you said, the first case was diagnosed in Cameroon on the 6th of March 2020. But far before then, government, in its surveillance measure, had put in place several measures to make sure that the population is spared a mass transmission of the virus. And since then, a lot has been done. There was a confinement, there were measures. And as you rightly said before introducing me, those measures paid out. But that is not what is important. What is important is the latest statistics, as we will be seeing on the board now, are not very announcing. They are not very announcing because the statistics as given to us by the government spokesperson, the Minister of Communication, Minister Emmanuel René Sadi, said the total cases as of the 23rd of December 2020 was at 25,738. And a day after, that is on the 23rd, it was 24th rather, it was 26,277 confirmed cases. But between the 23rd and the 24th, mark you the cases per day in 24 hours were diagnosed positive cases, 539 cases, that is in a day. And we understand that this is a festive period where people have come into Cameroon from different countries. And you remember that if you listen to a lot of international news, a lot of cases have been diagnosed in Europe, in neighboring countries, and not only normal cases, mutated strands of this virus that is more transmissible and very resistant. And Cameroon is not left out because, you know, we are in a global world and our frontiers are open. But government, in its surveillance measure, has tightened its surveillance measures at the airport. So to answer your question, it is not yet over. Neither is it eradicated, but it is contained in the way that government is surveying that, and the population has to also accompany it.
So with this state of things, Joyce, what is the way forward?
A very good question, because if you watch around and if you drive around as a reporter as I am, you'll discover that 3/4 of the population have dropped their measures. That is, you see people, the least to the highest in society, they go around without their face mask, and with an evaluation meeting that I personally attended that was given by the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda, he noted that wearing a face mask is now optional, not declared by government, and to say the least, wash hand basins that were planted in public places, you discover at roundabout they were wash hand basins. They have been dismantled. Even at the entrance of ministries, they have been dismantled without the measures being uplifted. Remember, these measures were ordered by the head of state, who has been surveying it. And you know, he is one of those that came out on air to warn the population against this virus. And they have not been respecting the measures. We understand that Cameroon, in a few days, schools will be resuming for the second term. The AFCOM will be in less than 3 weeks, and so, yes, in less than 3 weeks. And we understand that if we don't, with the report and the statistics that I presented during the first question, you see the statistics are gloomy. So we have no other option, as government has ordered through its spokesperson, the Minister of Communication, in a strongly worded communique. It's called on the population to redouble effort and maintain and respect the measures, which are simple. Wear your mask, wash your hands, or use use the sanitizers or social distances. I was amazed. I followed a very highly placed authority of the state, and I could see people greeting. We have resumed greetings. I think you yourself, you have seen it amongst us. No one is left. You know, so far, about 446 cases of death has been recorded. It could be you, it could be me. So if they say it is not existing, people have died of it. And the numbers I gave are out of a certain number called symptomatic cases, those who have just been suspected. So if those are added to this number, it could be an alarming situation in Cameroon. So the minister had said it, we are responsible enough. The government is just a watchdog for its population. Remember, before I end, when HIV/AIDS came to Cameroon, if people did not respect the measures, it couldn't have been contained. Remember, on the air they said, put on your preservative. And people respected. With COVID, they are not respecting. And with viruses, it mutates. And the more it mutates, the more it becomes resistant. And Cameroon, with all we know, is not left out.
But Joyce, I hope Cameroonians with this will become more and more responsible.
It's for their own good. It's for their own good. It's for you and I, our good. I mean, here our Director General has posted, we have wash hand basins everywhere around the house. And there's a check at the gate. We wear our mask. We are journalists. We've been going out, you put on your mask. I think people should copy. People should also put on their mask. I think you have yours in your bag before coming to the studio.
I do, Joyce.
Yes, so and we have our sanitizers.
We do. And thank you very much, Joyce, for being here.
Thank you, Gladys.
See you some other time on the set.
You're welcome.
And on to some other news. The commander of the 2nd Combined Military Region, General Eba Benoit, and the commander of the 2nd Gendarmerie Region, General Tunge Elias, as well as the commander of the 21st Infantry Motorized Brigade, Colonel Allengagedcitizens, have just concluded a tour aimed at evaluating the results of the first phase of a mission aimed at securing some 3 administrative areas in the southwest region, notably Lebialem, Dian, and Meme divisions. Guy Rogenana followed the team of these top military officials and now reports.
Inhabitants of Jani had been living in the bushes and in terror as a result of repeated acts of violence by secessionist fighters on their community. All that is now in the past.
I've been in the bush for 1 year. When the military came, they told each and every one of us who were in the bushes that we should come home.
Ever since the military came here, things have been better.
The commander of the 2nd Combined Military Region, General Eba Benoit, alongside the other military chiefs, exchanged with the people of Jani on ways to ameliorate security and livelihood for the community in general. While sharing a common meal with the soldiers at the small Ekombe military base in Bongé, the senior military officials expressed satisfaction with the output of this first phase of an offensive to secure the southwest region.
Our mission at the original is to secure the populations. That is why I came myself.
the commander of the 2nd Combined Military Region, General Eba Benoit, the commander of the 2nd Gendarmerie Region, General Ntunge Elias, and the commander of the 21st Infantry Motorized Brigade, Colonel Eyenga Severin, expressed gratitude to the men for their professionalism in carrying out their arduous task of securing the population.
We now take you out of the country where under the United Nations multi-dimensional integrated stabilization mission to the Central African Republic, Cameroon has deployed 1,030 military officers with the aim of creating conducive environment for peace. CRTV Special Envoy to the Central African Republic, Caroline Okia-Anoma, spent a day in their barracks and recounts her experience in this report.
These are part of the over 1,000 Cameroonian military men and women supporting the Central African Republic authorities through MINUSCA to protect and deter threats to the civilian population.
We are carrying out a civil and military activity. For example, we are providing potable water for local population to create the link between the MINUSCA and the local population.
Here at the 5th district in Bangui, Central Africa, we visited part of the Cameroonian troops to witness just how they spend their day, which coincided with Christmas Day.
For the Xmas, and the ladies have decided to make a party to invite every Cameroonian who is to come to the party this evening. And we have 5 plantains.
It is so that it is Christmas Day, we can organize a party inside our camp. So to manage their stress.
These men and women, heavily equipped for all unforeseen threats, were deployed on September 15, 2020 to bring in their expertise to the government of Central African Republic so as to restore their authority through a secure and peaceful electoral process.
Staff of the Central and Devolved Services of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security are meeting in Yaoundé to evaluate achievements for 2020 and to draw the 2021 roadmap. This was during their annual conference chaired by Labour Minister Gregoire Owona, which focused on the stakes, challenges and perspectives for the Labour Inspectorate faced with the current health crisis. Beatrice Losamba reports that the ministry has set objectives to promote decent work and quality social security in 2020.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security counts among its achievements for 2020 some major activities which enabled it to obtain results in a rather difficult year. In the light of promoting social security for a greater number and improving labour protection. However, due to the COVID crisis, its activities were dealt a serious blow, especially the Labour Inspectorate.
Nowadays we talk about Zoom, teleconference and so on. So Labour inspectors have many challenges to be ready to catch up with this disease.
During the annual conference for staff of central and external services, focus has been on the stakes, challenges and perspectives for labour inspectors in crisis time.
We are embracing a new labour administration which seeks to be more proactive and be exclusively user-oriented.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security wants to up social security coverage as well, as its main goal for 2021 will be promoting decent work and quality social security in line with the government's vision.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Less than 3 weeks to the start of the African Nations Championship, the Confederation of African Football (CAF) and the government of Cameroon have put in place health measures that must be respected to avoid the spread of the coronavirus before, during and after the competition. Just under what circumstances can the competition hold while respecting anti-COVID-19 barrier measures? Let's join Baldwin Sama with his guest, Joseph Fokam, from the Public Health Emergency Operations Center with updates. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, BrigadeAntiSardinard. The African Nations Championship is around the corner, and the need to avoid the coronavirus to spread during this particular competition happens to be a major worry or a major concern for public health experts. Let's find out from our guest tonight, Dr. Joseph Fokan, who is a virologist. Under what conditions should the spectators turn out in a different stadia, given that 25% or 25% of stadia of spectators will be allowed access into the different stadia? Good evening to you, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
How and under what conditions should this take place with 25% of spectators allowed into the different stadia?
Effectively, Baldwin, in accordance with our national response against COVID-19 and also following WHO recommendation, this 25% attendance in our fields give us a kind of mitigation for the 1 meter physical distancing during these sporting activities. This means that people should be able to watch their match in the field without taking risks of being infected with COVID-19. Also, what we have done also at national level to mitigate any risks of importation of COVID-19, all those players and their staff will be tested at the entry point of the country, and also 48 hours before every match, every player will also be tested to make sure there is no risk of COVID-19 circulation during this period. And last but not the least, also, each of these players will be tested using the reference assay, which is PCR, and we have selected one standard method to make sure the result we are reporting will be similar and will be identical even for every partner taking part in this competition.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Fokan, for being a guest this evening. It is quite obvious that measures have been put in place to avoid any further spread for the coronavirus, especially during the upcoming African Nations Championship. Back to you, BrigadeAntiSardinard.
Thank you very much, Baldwin Sama, and hope to be in your company same time tomorrow. And members of the Board of Directors of the Chantal Biya International Research Center have voted a sum of 5.5 billion CFA francs as budget to run the structures affair in 2020, following the new plan of action. Researchers of the center have been lauded for efforts made in the reduction of the spread of the HIV virus, as well as their participation in the research on the COVID-19 pandemic. Staff Lady Enanga Kebi tells us more.
At the conference hall of the Chantal Biya International Research Center, the board members had the double task of evaluating the overall balance sheet for the year 2020 and adopt a plan of action for 2021. All this considering the progress made in the domains of research and the publication of their findings in scientific journals. This fifth ordinary session was also crucial following the scrutiny of the budget for 2020 and the adoption of a new budget for 2021.
The budget for 2021 is around 5.5 billion francs CFA. This money is going to be used for providing clinical data for those living with HIV infection to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
Satisfied with the progress made in testing the HIV viral load count and the ability to identify the resistance level of the HIV active virus in infected persons, the center is promising better and effective treatment for patients.
A memorandum of understanding has been signed by the Limbe Nautical Arts and Fisheries Institute, LINAFI, and the Syndicate of Amateur and Maritime Fishing, SAPEMA. The objective of the agreement is for SAPEMA to create industrial internship for students of LINAFI. Annabelle Ndike Eno Anyang attended the signing ceremony and filed the following details from Crtv Southwestern Boya.
The Limbe Nautical Arts and Fisheries Institute, LINAFI, offers professional training to advanced level holders from the science background or any equivalent certificate recognized by the Ministry of Higher Education on marine engineering, fisheries technology, industrial fishing and navigation, and aquaculture. But with the limited facilities available to train the students, LINAFI has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Syndicate of Amateurs in Maritime Fishing, SAPEMA, to improve professional training and capacity building of the students.
We have 2 training vessels, and the 2 training vessels cannot absorb all our students during their internship program. And as such, we have initiated an MOU with SAPEMA that will accompany us to look for other facilities where our students will be placed to carry out their internship training.
According to the Secretary General of SAPEMA, several facilities will be made available to boost training at Linafi.
Introduce the students who are in training to be well trained professionally in the booth, so that we can find ways and means to give job opportunity.
The signing of the Memorandum of Understanding will be mutually beneficial for Linafi and SAPEMA.
And in sports, the intermediate Lions of Cameroon have pulled a 0-0 tie with the Cameroon Cup champions EMS of Loom in a debut to try out the newly constructed Japoma Stadium in Douala. The encounter also counts for the second friendly of the intermediate Lions ahead of the Shan competition planned for 2021. Dyson Ashe was there. Here's his report.
No better period of the day than at dusk to unveil the architectural beauty of 50,000 capacity Japoma Stadium. A blend of sound, light and visual to compound an imagination of nocturnal splendor. And for the first visitors, it is a privilege to be part of this maiden experience. It is a grace to be the first to play on this turf. It's a huge and beautiful structure, and we thank those who bore the initiative. The turf is resistant and not shadowy. The parking and peripheral roads are well electrified. The intermediate Lions and First Division's UMS of Loom in a friendly put the edifice to test, an encounter that none of the teams wanted to concede a historic defeat, pulling a 0-0 tie after full time.
La majorité de mes joueurs sortent de divisions inférieures.
A majority of the players come from inferior football divisions. They are new within the ranks. They have quality but still lack experience. The encounter is the second friendly of the intermediate Lions in Douala ahead of Shan 2021 after conceding a 1-0 defeat from Stade Arena of Melon at the Omispo Stadium last weekend.
27,950 million CFA francs will be CRTV's running budget for 2021. With an increase of 2.2% this year, this budget will be used for the acquisition of state-of-the-art equipment that will be used for the CHAN and the AFCON competitions. The budget will be equally injected in the digitalization of the structure, with CRTV expected to run an online platform that is profitable to the structure. More on today's board meeting in our subsequent newscast. And it is on this note that we call it quits on this edition of the 7:30 News. Thanks for watching. You'll be in the company of Romeo Twisengok at 8:30 for the news in French. I'll be back tomorrow same time. Until then, it's bye from all of us on the 7:30 crew. Good night.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing